Hey folks, welcome back to Testing Hacks. In this video, let's understand what are user stories and where it is used and when it is used and how does a user story look like. Let's begin. A user story is basically an explanation of feature which is written from the perspective of an end user. It is smallest unit of work in agile process. User stories are nothing but an acceptance criteria written in simple language that outline the desired outcome. So basically what we are trying to tell you here is an user story is an explanation. It is basically a document. Okay, we can nowadays we have a lot of tools that we can document. One of the best tool is Jira, where we document all the user stories, and that user story is an smallest unit of work which can be used in agile process. It fits in both in Scrum as well as in the Kanban process. Okay, and it is a user story is an acceptance criteria that narrates how an UI should look like, how the functionality should behave like. All these will be documented in a particular user story. So then, what are the purpose or what purpose does a user story serve then? So the main purpose of creating an user story is to provide value to the customer. How does we provide value to a customer by creating a user story could be the question. So it has an acceptance criteria which actually narrates or describes what an end user wants or how the customer wants the functionality or the UI to look like. So that's how using this user story we can create an description. Basically in Jira, if you go to Jira and check, you will get a brief idea of how does a user story look like and how actually it will be created. As I mentioned, a user story or a very big user story can be broken down into pieces and that can be linked to an epic. So let's understand it even further. So what is the need to create an user story then? By creating a user story, a big feature can be further divided into multiple smaller pieces. An user story contains the detailed description of the feature that needs to be implemented so that the team can pick it up and work. So assume that there is a big user story. User story in the sense there is a big project, okay? There is a big requirement. So rather than working on a project as a whole, we can break down that into multiple pieces and that we can mark it as an user story. Okay, so particularly for an example, for an instance, if I take an example of a Facebook, so Facebook did not readily gotten all the features together. So step by step they made it. How? So they might have created a user story. For that particular user story, they have worked for that release or for that sprint. So that's how it actually the hierarchy goes. So on basis of this user story, team can pick up the user story and then they can work it on. Basically what happens, suppose there is a developer who works on the particular user story. For example, there is a feature that needs to be developed. Okay, I'll explain you further with an example too. First he will pick that task up and then basis of the user story he will analyze it and how the functionality should look like. All the things he will analyze and he will do his work. After that it comes to the testing team. So testing team also should analyze the acceptance criteria and work based on the acceptance criteria. So here the user story plays an important role. So let's understand a sample. This is how actually an user story look like, but if you go to Jira and check, you will get a brief idea of how actually the user story look like. And also there are certain fields. If you are working in an agile methodology, you will get to know more further. For example, Description, what I've mentioned is this new feature helps the customer to manage different accounts altogether. So here it is a problem. There was a problem that I am trying to solve using this story. So that is where I can mention in the description too. User should be able to add multiple accounts by clicking on add button. So this is a requirement that a client has given us. So these are the specification they have specified. The UI should consist of below fields. Account holder name. Also they have specified should accept all the characters apart from special characters mentioned here. So this is one condition. On basis of that, we have to write the test case and then we have to test it. Okay. And account number should accept only numerics. Account type. It should be a drop down with values, savings and current account. IFSC code. This field should accept alphanumeric characters and should be validated. Okay. Branch name should be fetched upon entering IFSC code. So this is how an user has given us, or the customer has given us, the acceptance criteria. On basis of this, developer will code, and on basis of this we have to write the test cases and we have to test it. This is the sample, just a sample of user story, how it looked like. So this is all about the user story. If you have understood, then well and good. So just give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.